My name is Ann Olson-Katz, and I am a consultant for fundraising. I grew up, I was 11 years old before I came to live in the States. I lived all over the world. My father was a diplomat, a U.S. diplomat. When we lived overseas around the world, there was a very tight community of people who worked together, and there wasn't really much to do way back then. And as far as in these far-off places outside of the metropolitan area in these countries, and so my mom and dad entertained quite a bit. And my mom would go to the garden and pick flowers, and she'd hand them to me, and she'd say, "Can you put them in the vase?" And I found so much joy in doing that. So as I grew up, I was able to just create my craft, so to speak, not even knowing that that's what I was doing. And my mom influenced me. My father grew flowers outside and loved to tend his garden. And my mom loved to bring those flowers inside and beautify our home. So I got that from both ends of my parents.
So my name is Saida Sharapova. I am a physician trained in Uzbekistan. And here in the States, I work during the day as a health scientist doing data analysis, and in the evening I'm an artist and doing batik ads. The expectations was one. There was one expectation. I would be a medical doctor. I don't think it was even ever discussed. It was just the default option, and I did that eventually. Growing up in a family of physicians was fun, and I really aspired to be like my mom because she is #1 children's neurologist in the country, honestly. And I grew up hearing stories about people she saved, literally, and hearing gratitude from her patients, and I really wanted to be like her.
Hi, I'm Burley West Baker. I've been married 25 years. I have 4 children and 9 grandchildren, 22 to 4 months, and they keep me pretty busy. My father created a legacy for himself with the saying that never forget where you came from. And my parents don't live in Little Wheeling, West Virginia anymore. They do have some property up there. But my dad always went back and helped wherever he could, whether that's putting in stadium seating for children in areas that maybe not a lot of people would go to, but they need it. His philanthropy has passed on to his university, where we did do the stadium with lights and AstroTurf and press boxes, etc. But my dad's always been very giving, and he always said, "Don't give a hand out, give a hand up." And so I was created that way when I was younger, and it's only gotten stronger as I've gotten older.
I'm Jen. I'm 40 years old. I have a 21-year-old son who's in the Army. He's on his first deployment, and I am a co-owner on a local med spa. Oh, teenage years were fun. They were fun. They were exceptional. I made some bad decisions after I had a trauma happen to me when I was 14, and there was a cascade of unfortunate events that followed that, and I'm just glad to be on the other side of it. The dynamic growing up was interesting. My brother and I are 17 months apart. He's older. I know every family has a favorite child, and it was him. So I got dismissed a lot. I was judged a lot. I was the only female in our family. All the other cousins were all boys. So I was shamed. I was judged. It was a lot.
Yeah, my name is Beatrix Curry. I'm a psych mental health nurse practitioner. I've been in the medical field for almost 30 years now. I love working with children and young adults, adolescents. I have 3 adult children of my own, and I enjoy working with performing artists and athletes. Well, I would say that it was, I guess, a normal life before she passed away. I mean, the average life of what we would call it back then. My mom was a single mom, and she had 2 children that she took care of. And I mean, we just lived a normal life at that time before my mom passed away. It was hard. but it shaped me in a way that it made me, I became an adult overnight, I should say. So I learned to depend on myself. So it shaped me into being an adult, a responsible adult at an early age, because I was only 16 years old. So, I mean, it made me think differently than before my mom passed away. Totally. You know, my outlook on life it changed tremendously after my mom passed, but it changed in a good way, because now I was more aware of things. I paid more attention to things, whereas before she passed away, it was more so of I was just living. I had my mom as my, as my guardian. She took care of everything. But after she passed, it was more of I'm my own adult now. So it changed me in a negative way and a positive way, I should say.
Yes, absolutely. I am Keisha Scott, and I think of myself as a very bold storyteller, a purposeful giver. I've always known that my place on earth is to give and give back and help people, and that is really based on my faith and my foundation and the strong women that have come before me in my family. At 10 years old, I was on vacation with my father and my stepmother. My mother was at home, and we took a vacation to Ohio. And we were at the pool. My father told us that we could go to the pool, my sister, myself, and my brother. My sister, who was 8 at the time, could not swim, neither could I. And my brother could swim, he was 13. And so my dad instructed us both to stay in the shallow water, and my brother could get in the deep end because he could swim. And when we were there, my brother hit his head on the side of the pool and knocked him unconscious. And my sister and I immediately jumped out of the shallow water, and I decided to jump in to save my brother, because that was my hero. That was my big brother. And so I jumped into the water, and I can remember vividly the sounds of being under the water, the whoop, 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 and I could hear that. I still hear it to this day. And my brother made the conscious choice at 13 to save himself or save me. And he decided to save me. And he pushed me out of the water, and my younger sister pulled me out of the water and out of the pool, and he sunk to the bottom, and he ended up drowning. And it was traumatic. It was one of those things that, as a 10-year-old, of course, I didn't understand. I knew something really bad had happened, and my dad tried to jump in and save him. Some individuals from the hotel tried to jump in, but it was too late. And that was the defining moment of my life. I didn't know that then, but I do know that now.
My name's Jenna Ronowitz, and I own a restaurant. I was born in Zimbabwe, left when I was 7 and went to South Africa. Met my husband in South Africa, and he had come to college in America and wanted to come back, and so I followed him. And we ended up in Atlanta with all his tennis buddies from college, and by default got into the restaurant business, and I fell in love with the industry, and been in it for 26 years, and I don't see myself doing anything else. So I didn't come from money. I didn't come from I came from a wonderful African family, the mom and a dad, and a very strict upbringing. In South Africa and Zimbabwe, we have the British education system, and it's very, very strict. And I think that was an important part of my life. It taught me how to be, so what I'm looking for, taught me to be responsible for who I am. My parents expected a lot from me. We were never allowed to use any problems that we had as excuses. You just had to get it done. And I think that helped me become the adult that I am.
My name is Annie Lai. I professionally work for a global company. It's in global IT planning and operations. Growing up in these small towns, being the only Asian family and one of the few, my siblings and I were one of the few sort of Asian kids in school. We were bilingual, of course, and so most of the time I didn't speak very much, just because it's just two different languages, two different kind of contexts and environments. And so for me, I think I was often pretty shy. And really science, it was something that my first grade teacher sort of exposed me to sort of like bring me out of my shell. And so science sort of became my other language and my way of kind of expressing myself. And so I really started getting into science ever since first grade.
My name is Shay Alexander, and I'm the Fulton County, Georgia Clerk of Courts. My life growing up was very chaotic, and I think that has made me the person that I am today. We all have our own journey, and we go through things in life, and it makes us who we are. And so my background in my childhood that was very unstable has actually made me very resilient and having a lot of faith in order to move forward. So, you're made up of what you've been through, and it's just about capturing that, embracing it, and moving forward.
Let's see. Hi, I'm Buffy Payne. I am the president of the Fellowship of Extraordinary Women. I'm a mother of 5, and my husband and I co-founded Outer Circle Foundation, a nonprofit that supports our veterans and first responders and their families with PTSD, awareness and resources, suicide prevention, and career transition support. Well, it was challenging, certainly. Typically in banking, you do see women, but in the credit card, fraud investigation, anything really security or investigation related, especially then, the percentage of women is about 8% women. And so I really had to let my performance and the numbers speak for themselves, because often I'd walk into a room or into a meeting and I was the only female there. And I did have to overcome the challenges with guys saying, "Oh, honey, can you get me something to drink? Or will you take the notes?" Because I was the woman in the room. So many of the barriers I faced in the security world was just being that I was a woman. But you know what? It was also to my advantage because I was unassuming. People didn't know that I was the security person. I can remember showing up in meetings or traveling with a group of men and them thinking, "Oh, who is this female?" When in fact I was there to take care of them and protect them and keep them safe. So barriers often were comments from the men of, "How can you know this? You're a woman." Or, "Can you get me a drink?" Or, "I don't have to listen to you. You're a woman and I'm a guy." And so overcoming those challenges sometimes took a lot of finagling, but we got through them.
My name is Kelly Lynch. I'm a speech therapist, and my husband and I own our own pediatric therapy clinic where we have speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. I just feel like, when you think of corporations, most of them are run by men. It's a male-dominated industry. So unfortunately, like women, we're not showcased as much. And I think it's really important, especially women and women minorities. But like my husband is Black and I'm white. So, we have both sides of it, we have the minority and women. So when we have some people, there's different cultures that don't believe that women should do anything. They should stay home and cook and clean. And I'm not that type of person. I would never grew up that way. So I just think it's so important for more women, to have their own businesses and to be featured and showcased, because it's something that we need to change the narrative a little bit and flip the side where it's not mostly male-dominated industry.
My name is Kimberly Alexandri, and I'm a general sales manager for Odyssey in Atlanta. It was very intimidating. It wasn't just being a female in a male-dominated space. I was also really young. And even in that first job, the person I was interviewing against had I guess 5 more years of experience, was 10 years older than me, but I still got the job. So I think that early boost of confidence definitely helped me, but it was intimidating. There's a few times, but the first one was right when that first radio job. And in the advertising industry, car dealerships are very lucrative for a salesperson. So I was calling on car dealerships, and I'd always be really prepared, and I'd have my research, my data, my reports in hand, and just going through the proposal of what I thought would work best for this particular car dealer. And at the end of the presentation, he was like, "Dang, girl, you're not just pretty, you're smart too." And I was like, wait, he was just having me in here because he thought I was pretty and didn't think I was smart. So I knew that that was something that I'd probably come up against a few different times, and I did. The other part in the business, especially in my younger years, there was a lot of sexual harassment that went unspoken. And I even remember a time where it was myself and one of my salespeople that had something happen to them, and it was my duty to report it and go through HR, and nothing happened. So it's luckily today's changed. I work in an environment where on our sales team, I'm one of 6 sales leaders and I'm the only woman, and I don't feel at all disrespected, and I believe that they really do value what I bring to the table. They value my experience and my intelligence, and it's nothing like it was back when I first started.
My name is Carla Brown, and I am going into a new chapter. I will be 60, blessed to see 60 years in January. It's pretty monumental for me. I think I'm going into just a complete different stage of my life, and I'm excited to see what it holds. It just lets me know that my life is a miracle. It's really a gift, and I preach that. I tell people, no matter what is going on, this life that we have is such a precious gift, and you have to just do what brings you joy in the deepest part of your soul. You have to. I've learned that I can't waste any time because again, it's not promised. I've outlived my mother now by many years, and for me, I miss it more and more as I get older, because I don't have that blueprint in terms of seeing my mother and how she aged and, her life as she got older. So a lot of times I feel like, I might be making mistakes, but I think it's still all a part, of this beautiful journey. So I try not to dwell on the mistakes. I try to just, live as much as I can and do the things that I think are best for me, and leave an imprint with people, because I think it's your treatment of people. As we get older, we see our bodies changing, but not only our bodies, our mindset changes a lot. The things that, I thought 10 years ago, 20 years ago, my thinking is different. And they say, oh, people don't change. No, you really do change. You're changing, you're evolving. And I am more aware of my evolution now more than ever. And again, I'm just excited to see where it goes.
My name is Brandy Martin. I am currently 42 years old. And I work as an executive assistant for Hewlett Packard. I also started my own baby brand that's called Cradle and Comfort. I'm currently working on growing. Losing my mom was hard, especially as I grew older, because you think, like, my own mother left me. How is anybody else going to love me, and how is anybody else going to like me? And going through therapy made me realize that I have to love myself for who I am. It's not about anybody else. It's about what I see and what I feel, and loving myself. And yes, that's a part of my story, but I think it only made me stronger today. It shaped me to be stronger. For, when I was younger, it was a struggle. Being, like I said, being very down on yourself and not really having a mom. I think that's a big influence in a little girl's life. So not really having that is hard. I was blessed that I do have a stepmom who is wonderful, and I call her my mom. She's everything. So having her in my life, and really, she gave me the positivity to love me. And for someone on the outside who's not my mom, and she's loved me unconditionally since the day she met me. And so her having that love for me and not even knowing me, her accepting me as her own when I'm not, she was a big influence in my life and how I grew up and who I am today.
I'm Brandy Milford. I'm CEO of Milford Medical Management and also the founder of Case Management Mastery. Yeah, so after my second baby, I had preeclampsia. And so already in the pandemic, so we couldn't have visitors. So I was already secluded in the hospital. Only my husband could visit, and ended up having to stay for a while afterwards. Baby was fine, so we were blessed, but I was not doing well. And so that was tough, because when you're a mom and you have a baby, there's no time for you to be sick. You know, the baby was healthy and ready to be breastfed and all that. And I had to do that, figure out how to navigate. Meanwhile, my blood pressure is 200 over whatever, and they're coming in. I'm on stroke protocol, make sure I'm not, going to have a stroke, and just figuring the things out. But again, my husband was there. He supported me. He stayed with me the entire time, and we navigated it through to figure it out until I could get released and get home. But it was tough, very tough.
My name is Lativia Pretty. I am from Kentucky, born and raised. I'm kind of new to Georgia the last 5 years or so. But beyond my titles, which is what I do, I would say that I'm a woman of faith, resilience, and compassion. I think my faith journey has shaped my life in profound ways. I think the Lord has uniquely gifted me to be a people person, and I really do love people. But I think I want people to walk away from experiences with me knowing that I was just in awe of how much the Lord loved me. So faith, I think that's one of the core things that I want people to know about who I really am. As a Black woman in the law, I've had to overcome so many stereotypes and assumptions, feeling like I'm being underestimated, underpaid, being in rooms where I'm the only person, and it feels so isolating. And I think what I've had to do to overcome those things is to be prepared, to show up authentically as myself and not shrink and not apologize. So unapologetically be me. I've had to make sure that I leaned into community and built a community of support for myself. But also too, I had to cling hold to my faith and understand that I am not here by happenstance. This is not a coincidence. I'm here for a purpose, and my representation in these spaces and areas matter. And so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to shine brightly and boldly.
Hi, my name is Marianne Balbo, and I am a media executive. I wanted to be a television general manager early on in my career, and everybody told me that I wouldn't do it for a variety of reasons. First of all, because I didn't have a straight path to the general manager job, to that chair in the corner office. I didn't come straight up through news or straight up through sales. I actually, zigzagged throughout the organization. And I thought, well, isn't a general manager a generalist? Shouldn't you have experience in all different departments? But I was told, no, that's not the way it normally is. And then on top of that, I'm a woman. And at the time, only 12% of women in the United States were general managers. So I had to go above and beyond in order to prove that I was the best candidate. I had to give examples of what I would do. I had to show a long-term plan. I even got really creative in this space. I had a role that I was interviewing for, and they needed somebody to turn the station around. And when I got done interviewing, I went and I had all of these tools made in chocolate. And I sent them to the hiring manager and told him I'm the fixer-upper and I'm the right person for the role. And that helped me to actually land a role later on with that company. So it was exhilarating, yet scary, but I knew I couldn't fail. Not just for me, not just for my family, but also for all of those people who were looking up to me, that I had made it. And I had to show them that not only had I made it, but I was going to keep it and I was going to be successful at it. And in order to do that, I could not fail. It was not an option.
So most of the time, I go to work dressed the way who I am. I don't necessarily will wear a suit or something like that because I want to be a girl sometimes. I don't want to be dressed like a man. And a lot of times it'll work in my benefit, where somebody will try and come and sell something to us and they're asking for the manager. And I'm like, oh, he's over there. And the manager then laughs and they were speaking to the owner the whole time and she's the one going to make the decision. So those kind of things, it does work in my favor. It does irritate me a little bit. I'm the brains behind the operation. I'm the person behind the operation and I get overlooked because I'm not a man. Well, you can't be the owner. You're a woman. But It doesn't bother me every day. Sometimes it bothers me a little bit more. If my husband will show up and he's dressed nicely and they're like, oh, he must be the owner. So that does bother me sometimes, but honestly, I just stay true to who I am. I'm a woman bar restaurant owner, and I think I own it.
Yeah, as an Asian woman in tech, I think there's some interesting biases that, unconscious biases that can come into play, right? I think it depends on who's in the room, but oftentimes, people don't expect me to speak out or to speak at all, right? And so that has been an interesting challenge. And so part of it is like, okay, well, what is my place at this table, right? Like how do I, show my worth, right? When to begin with, I don't even have to, right? And so it's been interesting because, now it's sort of like being intentional and saying, no, I do have something to say, and doing it in such a way that is with, executive presence and executive power, but also at the same time have that sort of influence, right? Where it really kind of just battles the people's biases that they have, right? And sort of just showing that, whatever bias that they carry, right, is really, untruth, right? And so you don't have to be a certain look or a certain persona or certain ethnicity to be recognized, right? All people should have a seat at the table, and those biases shouldn't determine whether or not you're worthy or not to even speak up or even have sort of influence.
Okay, so I'm Phaedra Moore. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm an original Georgia peach. I'm from Decatur, West Greater. I have 3 siblings. I'm the only girl, middle child. I'm a daddy's girl. My mother was my best friend. She passed away in 2015, so shout out to my mom. And I'm also a mother of 3 boys, Terrius, Reggie, and Josh. So the challenges I think that I've had with working with white males in the positions that I've been in is that sometimes they don't see you as a person. For an example, you can be in the room, in the boardroom, and you're talking, you're giving your opinion on something. And a lot of times your voice is overlooked. And someone else behind you say the exact same thing, and they like nod and they like, oh yeah, great job. And so in those situations, what I found is by confronting those biases head on. So after the meeting, I'll have a follow-up conversation and I will say, well, did you realize that you either cut me off and or I said something and I was dismissed? And so I just have those candid conversations by asking without being offensive, did you realize you did that? And 10 out of 10 times, I've always gotten an apology, and I've noticed that moving forward, they respect me more, and they don't do that anymore. Because I'm not a ghost at the table. I'm a real person, and I bring value.
My name is Ashley Shields. I'm a dental practice manager and Army veteran. Well, I've always been a hard worker. And in the military, especially as a young woman, you have to prove that before you earn the respect. So I knew the bar was set higher for me. But I did the work, I pushed through. So once I earned that respect, I was also protected by them as well. I promoted ahead of many of my peers, so that taught me that hard work speaks louder than words. So then once I earned my place, I owned it.
Okay, so my name is Joy White, and I am a mother, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, fiance, creative. That's what I would call myself. So I chose law at a very early age. I chose law because I wanted to be Claire Huxtable. So I actually didn't even know what lawyers did. It was strictly, who is that lady? What does she do? Oh, she does that. That's what I'm going to do. So to be honest, I didn't even know what lawyers did until I was in law school. So I'm obviously a very focused person. And so at 5 or 6, I just decided I wanted to be her. And once I got into the field, I definitely realized, hey, oh, this is all white men. And actually, when I was in law school, leaving out, someone gave me a book called Becoming Gentlemen, which I just thought was hilarious that they even wrote a book like this. And the point was, this is how women should comport themselves in order to better fit into the legal field. Like, and it was basically like, no matter what you are, if you're not a white man, your job is to act like a white man and like learn the ideals and the behavior. And it wasn't like, it was supposed to be helpful. It was kind of supposed to be like a self-help book, but like, hey, don't be gentle, don't be soft, don't be emotive, don't be flashy, you know, like be logical and practical and unfeeling and, you know, act like you run everything. Like all the kind of behaviors that, first off, all white men don't even have all those behaviors, but the idea that like that's what the temperament is to become a lawyer and to be a successful lawyer. I would say I tried my best, unfortunately, to do those things. I tried to dress down. I tried to cover my body up. I didn't wear makeup. I tried to emulate kind of their mannerisms. It was ridiculous. Now, my real personality still was there. So I, you know, people liked me, but it was hard because I was trying to be a certain thing that I wasn't, and didn't do great at it. I mean, I did well in the profession, but my efforts to hide myself didn't actually work. Ultimately, I learned those are qualities. Those aren't things to hide. Even in my effort to hide them, it didn't work.
My name is Alex Collier, and I am the Chief Compliance Officer at Genesis Capital, and I run a search and rescue team called Trail Dogs. So my brother Nick went missing on March 26th of 2022. My dad drove him over to the MARTA station, and he got out, and we never saw him again. It took the police about 24 hours to show up to the house the first time, take down our information, and start putting a case together. It was a Friday night that he left, that Nick walked away, and so that was Saturday afternoon that first officer came out. We weren't assigned a detective until Monday morning. So Monday morning, I went out and I contacted the cell phone carrier. I contacted MARTA. I got all of the information for the officer, for the detective to reach out to the MARTA police. And I contacted his bank to try to see if we could get working on his credit card information to see if his cards had been used. I took all of this over to meet with the detective the first time, and my brother struggled with opioid addiction. As soon as the detective figured this out, he became very dismissive of the case. Basically didn't follow through with any of the things that I had started. Because Nick got on MARTA, we didn't know where he exited the train, which means that the entire city became the space that we needed to search. It took 10 days before the officer or the detective reached back out and asked us to come into the station. When we arrived, there were 2 detectives, the lieutenant, and a public service officer there as well. They grilled us for about 20 minutes, asking all sorts of questions before they let us know that they thought that they had his body. After they let us know that they had him, or they thought they had him, they put me in touch with the medical examiner, who did confirm that they thought it was him. This is, unfortunately, not an uncommon situation for those with addictions or communities that just aren't prioritized.
My name is Michelle Savio, and I was a middle school math and science teacher for 25 years, and now I'm getting ready to do voiceover. Being diagnosed with leukemia was one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had. I, within days, was admitted into the hospital and underwent chemotherapy for 30 days, intensive treatment, really challenging. And I was lucky enough to have a stem cell transplant with my big brother. He was a 10 out of 10 perfect match. So I experienced that. It was painful and exhausting and unpredictable, and it changed the way I view my life. I'm so grateful for a second opportunity. I'm now in 100% remission, and I hope to stay that way.
My name is Michelle Ashuri, and I am the Vice President of Business Development for my company that I work for. I'm also a mom of 4 kiddos who I love dearly, a dog, and some fish. So it was after my cancer that I was diagnosed with, and luckily came out of that ahead and positive. And because of that, I realized that life is too short. Definitely wanted to make sure that I didn't have any what ifs moving through life. Did not want to wonder, well, what if I didn't try, or what if an outcome could have been really what I loved. And I didn't want fear to drive my decisions. That urgency basically helped me take that leap instead of waiting for the perfect time. Because I don't think there's ever a perfect time.
Well, to be honest with you, I watched my mom have a stroke when the day she died. She had a stroke and she had a heart attack right before me, and I didn't know that she was having a stroke or a heart attack. And later on, and not too far later on after she passed away, I realized had I knew the symptoms, I would have been able to possibly help her. That was my thought. And from that day forward, I said, you know what, I want to become a nurse, because if I can help one person, it will mean a world of difference to me.
Yeah, the moment I was diagnosed was Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2023. It was the last thing that I expected. I've always been very hypersensitive when it comes to that part of my physical. You know, it's an exam that we as women have every year, and it comes around, and I literally would hold my breath, thinking, oh gosh, please let this go well. Please let me get a good bill of health. So it was the same. I had that same feeling, but when I got the call and the reality hit, it was surreal. It felt like I was, having an outer body experience. It had to hit me that, okay, my thinking is always accelerated. So I don't just think in that moment. I'm already 6 months ahead in my mind. So I had to dial it back a lot. And I had to, trust in my faith, trust God. He is and always will be, always has been at the forefront of my life. And I'm a big believer that your life is already written, and there is nothing that I should fear or be afraid of, because His grace has just been so abundant, not only in my life, but in, the people I see around me. It's real for me. So at that moment, I had to lean on all those things that I've always told myself.
My name is Dana Posner, and I am a VP at Warner Brothers Discovery in their global transactional finance team. At 28 weeks, or I should say 26 weeks, I started feeling something was off, but it was my first pregnancy, and everyone kept telling me that it was normal and not to worry. One of my friends said, hey, if you're that worried, just go make a appointment with the ultrasound. So we did that. I was 28 weeks at that point. And at that appointment, they said that they couldn't get a read on the baby. Asked if I had had any water that day. And I said, yeah, I drink water all the time. And they're like, that's interesting because we can't seem to get a read. And usually it's because the woman hasn't had enough fluid. So I called my brother, who was in residency for OBGYN, and let him know what the text said. And he said, just go to the hospital. I'm sure it's nothing, but to calm your nerves, just go ahead and go. And so we did. And that ended up being the worst day of my life. And we went to the hospital. I got checked in, and I remember them putting the fetal monitor on my stomach. And then another nurse came in, and then another one. And I think at one point I had 4 nurses all around me having the monitor on my stomach. And then finally a doctor came in and said, ma'am, your baby's very sick. We're going to have to take you to an emergency C-section. And they wheeled me out without my husband. He wasn't even allowed back. And I remember the last thing I remember is being put under sedation and them telling me to calm down because I was hurting the baby with all of my crying and breathing and being hysterical. And then woke up without a baby and a NICU doctor telling me that my child over the next 24 hours is going to be in the NICU fighting for his life. And that literally was the beginning of our journey.
So I found out I was pregnant when I was 18, and I think that was something that the people in my life expected me to wind up being pregnant, just because of all of my bad decisions. The people in my life were not very supportive up front. My family members told me that I should get an abortion because I would never amount to anything if I had a child when I was 18, and that child's life would be ruined as well. So it was a big decision for me to decide to keep the pregnancy. My son changed my life. He made me who I am today. And, just to give some credit to my family, I did get some support from them after he was born, but the initial I'm pregnant shock it took everybody by storm. Well, I remember his dad said, because his dad had bought me a snake for Valentine's Day one year, and I remember his dad said that if I couldn't even take care of a snake, how was I going to take care of a child? I said, well, one is warm-blooded, one's cold-blooded, but aside from that, it was just it was a lot of judgment from my family and from his family, and a lot of people telling me what they thought that I should do. And like I said, I'm just glad that I made the decision that I felt was best for me, and it ended up being the right one.
That was one of the most defining moments of my life. I miss my brother a lot. And I remember being very naive, a little green behind the ears, excited, going to college, trying to figure out who I was. And then it's like this like foreign, like before and after. Like my world just suddenly was shattered. I was at one point a student, and then suddenly I was grieving the most unimaginable loss and having to navigate the justice system. It did something to me. It changed me, and it just like put me on a different trajectory of life. I remember sitting in that courtroom and realizing the power and the limits of the law. Wanting and needing answers, not understanding how to navigate this system, and being frustrated and just angry. Like anger was overwhelming in that season. I remember feeling like if I could be a part of this system, not just as someone who suffered through it, but as someone who can help other people navigate through it a little easier than what we did, then I want to do that. And I think those were seeds that were planted in that season of my life where I started this journey. I started this walk of like becoming a lawyer to help other people who would experience things like we did, and so that they wouldn't have to walk that journey alone. So, although born out of tragedy, it ignited passion in me, and it's something that I still carry today with me as I practice.
My name is Tanisha Bolden, and I am a serialpreneur. I own a number of companies, healthcare staffing company, Critical Access Network, another company, a global AI company, .hire, and I also own a travel company, Premier Travel. When my son initially was diagnosed with autism, I did not have an individual, I did not have a base, I did not have a group. So there are a couple of things that happen. You lose your natural group, but you also now are finding a new group. And so you're all learning together in this new space, in this new environment. And that took a lot for me to kind of understand my new environment, and at the same time understanding his environment, and then also my other children's environment. So there were a lot of competing and necessary responsibilities that I was very aware of, and I needed to do what I do best, kind of switch those gears, same way, with a business, and just switch gears to say, I can get through this. I've got this. And I literally just put one foot in front of the other and said, I don't have a choice. They're relying on me. I have to do this. And at the same time, being very aware that I didn't have a lot of support. So I leaned into a therapist. I leaned into going back to school to get my master's of public health so that I could understand and learn about the autism in public health around the world, which is life-changing. But I was so grateful for all of that education and even that experience. It has shaped me to now where I can have these great days, but I can also have days where I just need to sit and own my emotions and my response and not beat myself up about it. And again, I just think it comes with, maturing into this, as well as always seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm very optimistic, and that's just my personality. But I think it's how we have gotten, I say we, my whole family unit have gotten past and through, and we'll continue to do that.
In 2019, my husband got international position with CDC as a senior public health advisor in Ukraine. And we decided that was great opportunities to show kids the world, to try different lifestyle, to just travel and enjoy life a little bit more, being closer to Europe, right? And we moved. But for me, it meant also that I lost my job and had to start all over again with a new move, new household, new lifestyle, new responsibilities. But I was very, very lucky because as soon as we moved to Kyiv, I met incredible expat women community there. And that community was very strong. And I met amazing women out there. They were moving from country to country every 2-3 years, like nothing. Here I was like saying, oh, I'm a hero. I moved my family 2 times to 2 different countries, and they were doing it in their sleep, basically reinventing themselves, losing job and starting over and over and over for years. That gave me a good dose of humility. It also showed me that my time is valuable and my time belongs to me. And I need to learn how to spend it intentionally so I get what I want.
So my son leaving for college and my marriage ending basically at the same time, that was a strange kind of silence. My one and only son flew the nest, which there's great pride in that. There's nothing you want more. But there's also a deep sense of loneliness. At the same time, my son went off to college, my husband decided to end our marriage. So I went from being surrounded by my family to feeling completely alone. It was disorienting and painful, but it was also a wake-up call. While it's a new chapter, it started off tough with a heartache, but now it's also a great opportunity to rebuild.
My name is Dr. Tanoya Lone, and I am the behavior specialist at a middle school. My mom and dad married young, had me young. I'm one of 3. My mom, I have a brother. We're 7 years apart, so we really grew up together. And so when I got out of college and was working at Fox 5, my mom called and was like, I think I'm pregnant. So she went in and found out she was pregnant. She was only 42. All types of ages. Yes, you are considered high risk, but she wasn't a smoker. She worked out every day. She did, she took care of herself. Her diet was good. So she went through the pregnancy, had my sister. My dad thought it was funny. My brother thought it was funny. I didn't think it was too funny because I felt like, it's not your turn. It's my turn, And so she and I went through this. My mom was a very spiritual person. As it got closer to her delivery date was December 30th. As we got into, it was very, very prophetic. She's a prophetess. And she had started saying things like, all of my business must be done in 2008. I won't have any business in 2009. And I always thought, it's so bizarre, Mom, but she was always so spiritual, so it wasn't abnormal for her to say things like that. To the point that I asked her, why do you keep saying that? What's going on? And she didn't respond. She just wouldn't respond. She went into labor. It was Christmas. We're a big family on holidays. She went into labor on the 25th, had my sister on the 27th, had a C-section, came home on the 29th, and was due on the 30th. She died on the 30th. And so she was right. Her due date was the 30th. I was talking to my mother very regular, and the next call was my brother telling me that I needed to come home. Well, he said, we think Mom just had a heart attack. So I have a 3-day-old sister. I was just talking to her. We was just talking. So I get there. Both my parents weren't there because they were gone, and in the ambulance. The kids couldn't ride in the ambulance. So the firemen were there, and they said, we're going to escort you guys to the hospital. I realized everybody knew at the hospital, but at the moment, I didn't realize it. My dad walked up, and he's a very military man, super awesome, love him dearly. But he was hugging me and my brother, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get to her. I gotta go. What's going on with her? And so when we got in the room, it was like a whole bunch of doctors standing around, and you push past, and what I thought I was gonna see was her hooked up to all this stuff and being like, girl, can you believe this happened? When I pushed past and I looked down at her, nothing was happening, but it wasn't processing. So I was like, well, how's she doing? And so, like I said, it was doctors standing all around, and it just seemed like it came from over there. And it was like she didn't make it. And I was like, well, what? And then when I looked back down at her, I realized she wasn't hooked up to nothing. She wasn't responding to me. She wasn't. And I was just like, your brain does not accept it because it's not the natural order of things. You weren't sick. I didn't get to say goodbye. I'm angry. And it was a lot. That day was a lot. And then, the next day, my sister had her couple of day checkup. So my dad is spinning. He can't do it. So I go with him, and I'm in there with my sister, and he's like, oh, how you feeling? I was like, I'm okay. So he said, so I said, I'm not, this is my sister. So he said, oh, well, where's your sister? I said, no, the baby's my sister. I said, yeah, we're 24 years apart. And so he said, oh, okay, where are you guys' mom? And I said, she died yesterday. And then he was like, so it was just such a hit to my family, to me, to all of us. We were just never the same after that. And my brother was in his senior year of high school.
So when I stepped into a business development role from operations and more clinical, I really had to stop myself from thinking that I wasn't qualified enough. I didn't have a degree in business or marketing, things of that sort. So I continue to lean on my track record of what I've already known and gone through, basically just keep pushing myself forward.
My name is Ashley Marston. I am a nursing executive here in Atlanta. Moved here about 2.5 years ago from Memphis. My life today, I am a PhD student. So I graduated in December. My doctorate work is on social determinants of health and pressure injury outcomes for oncology patients. So I feel like you should always be learning. So I'm doing that. At the same time, I've got 2 teenagers, both with type 1 diabetes. Both are very athletic, play sports. My daughter is a senior and my son is a freshman. So we're doing football, basketball, or some other type of sporting event all the time. So I'm working, momming, every day. So for years, and being a nurse at the bedside and, trying to say, well, I was a former athlete and I should be able to deal with pain. I think there was a few times where I couldn't even stand upright. Like I couldn't even straighten my back. The bleeding was horrible. And I'm kind of a laughing and joyful type person. So I would go to the doctor and just kind of be like, hey, something's wrong. And I'd kind of just get dismissed, or they would say, cause I am 6'2", oh, you're twice as big as a normal woman, so here's some more birth control. So I kept going, trying to do, quote unquote, what was right, and go to the doctor. And really, I just kept being pushed over and over of like, oh, it could be this or could be that, and kind of just brushed off because I wasn't crippled over in pain at that moment. And I think it was just really hard for me to go through years of being a nurse. And, really, to be honest, now, especially in healthcare, people have their hands on so much more information, which is a great thing. But even myself looking up the information, I'm like, I know something's not right. And so, the gaining of the weight, the bloating, not being able to lose weight, all that stuff that I went through, and the severe pain, I just wish sometimes I could go back and be as forceful I was at the end a little bit sooner, and I probably wouldn't have gone through what I went through.
Not wanting to work the 9 to 5. And I think now, I'm 42 and I'm like, oh man, I got 20 some years left before I retire. And I think just when you start your own business, it's scary and it's unknown and it's unstable. And so you just don't know what to expect. And I ultimately had to just tell myself that I can do it. And I kept asking myself, am I ever going to regret this? Am I going to regret this if I don't do it? And every time the answer was yes. And so one day I just pulled the trigger on it.
Yes, Maggie Brady. I will be 46 this month. I'm a mom of 3 children. I'm a wife. I'm a HR executive, former collegiate athlete. I'm choosing to live in the frequency of wild joy. And I just know that I am committed to discovering my soul's truth and purpose in this lifetime. And I know that I'm a magnet for everything that's meant for me. Yeah, I don't even know if it's specific to being over 40, but it was that concept of unwinding your life. Everything you had built together. Then there's the fear of judgment. There's the fear of, oh my God, am I making a mistake? Am I going to regret this? Absolutely, it was devastating to have to tell the kids. That was the worst part of it because they were surprised. And so it was just it was all really hard. And I think though, now that I've gotten to the other side of it, I also would look back and go, yeah, I wouldn't want to repeat that, but I would never change a thing. I would never make a different choice.
So I discovered the world of search and rescue. I had heard about searches happening and, natural disasters and things like that. I really, really wasn't sure how to get started in it. There's no manual for that. So basically what I did was I just started reaching out to, I Googled search and rescue teams around Atlanta and started reaching out to people that way to see if I could make some connections. The first team that I reached out to had some additional rules and restrictions and stuff that would have kept me from being able to bring dogs for about 6 months, and I wasn't prepared to do that. I had 2 puppies and I needed them to get to work pretty quickly. So I was able to find a second team and we jumped right in.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lana McCletchy. I am a retired federal employee. I have been with the federal government for a combination of 24 years. Prior to the federal government, I worked in the pharmaceutical and biotech industry for 14 years. And prior to that, I also served in the U.S. military for 10 years. Well, my plan prior to leaving the military was to either do one of 2 careers. That was either law enforcement like my father or nursing like my mother. During the time prior to leaving, I started applying for law enforcement jobs. However, the first job I got was in a pharmaceutical and biotech industry. While working in that industry, I was responsible for being a part of the new drug development team, where I was the clinical supplies associate. We were responsible for ensuring that drugs that were developed were sent to clinical sites for research purposes. During that time working in that environment, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And being in that environment, it caused me to pivot from wanting to be in law enforcement to be in more of the scientific field, because I saw how new drugs and new medicines were able to help save lives.
So before I started my company, yes, I was a vice president of another case management company working for someone else. And, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people that I managed. I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed the work that we did, because I'm doing a similar work now. But at some point, I had a conversation with my boss at that point, who was the owner of the company. And he said, we got to, we're doing a really good job. We got to figure out how to, make the company grow, because I have to leave a legacy for my grandchildren. And I stopped. It was like, huh. So it just I was like, okay, well, we're going to leave a legacy for your grandchildren. Then what about my grandchildren? And that was the pivotal moment for me. And when I was like, I got to start thinking about myself the way he's thinking about, So that was the first real conversation that I had with my husband when I came home that very same day, and kind of pivoted my mind to, what, I probably can do this on my own. And with his support, and he was like, I'll support you, I got your back, whatever you need. And that was the first real conversation I had about it. And after that, every day I made it a point to do something to work towards that goal.
Wow. Yeah, so my husband was Special Forces, and then he retired as Chief of Police. And then all my own trauma through my life and experience working in the security space really brought us together to say, wow, we need to get in front of this. So many professionals, whether it's military, law enforcement, or just a professional, deal with trauma, but they're not taking the time to help themselves. They're not taking the time to recognize trauma is trauma is trauma, right? And so he and I really shifted our focus and campaign. We both left our corporate jobs. And so we're going to run Outer Circle Foundation and reach out and get ahead of all of the trauma as much as we can, providing resources, education to our law enforcement agencies, to our military and first responders, and helping people realize there are resources available. There's ways to help you manage through trauma. And there's so many people that really care and want to help. And so just his experience, my experience, and bringing it all together, we feel like it was our calling to get out there and make a difference.
My name is Scarlett Presley Brown. I'm actually Dr. Scarlett Presley Brown. Currently, I lead community affairs for HD Supply, which is a division of Home Depot. And I also have my own public speaking business called Sincerely Scarlett. I chose to go back to school and earn my PhD. It's something that I always wanted to have under my belt. I always wanted to be Dr. Scarlett Presley Brown. And I decided that age is just a number. It wasn't too late. For as long as I had the mental capacity and physical capacity to go back to school, that's what I was going to do. And I think it sets a very good example for my daughters and my granddaughters. They have been my greatest supporters, along with my husband, Wendell. And it's just been an incredibly rewarding and fulfilling experience for me. It helps me confirm that I can do whatever I set my mind to do.
Hi, I'm Barbara McKnoll. I'm founder and CEO of Resource Advantage Group. It's a full-service advertising agency, marketing, and branding. People actually call us RA now. It started out as Resource Advantage 34 years ago, but we've transformed to RA. So I guess I've always been a shock value gal. I'm from New Jersey, and I would go for the shock value. I was in a fairly toxic relationship that I stayed in for 7.5 years. That was kind of amazing that I put up with it for that long. And one day I just woke up and said, you got to go. You just got to go. And he packed up his stuff. I gave him a date to get out. And I was saying, what's the next craziest thing I could do? I said, I know, I'm only going to date bikers. And then I thought for a second and I was like, well, hell, why wouldn't I just become a biker? So at 50, I kind of said, that's what I'm going to do. I put on my big girl pants, I signed up for a class, and I got my biker license.
I am Deanna Hamilton, a child of God, as I always say, and that drives most of my decision making. knowing that simply because I am that I have the ability to do all things. It was very scary at first, especially when you are raised to believe that you're supposed to go to college, get a good job, and be a good steward of that job. And then to step out in entrepreneurship was very challenging. It was a risk that in the beginning for a good year, mentally, you have to adjust. And it was very scary. But once I started, I realized that I could do this on my terms, my way. It is what I came up with, and the phrase that I came up with that I now use a lot, and that is, I will never, ever ask for permission. I may have to apologize, but I will not ask for permission. And that's what that experience taught me.
My dad's death forever changed the trajectory of my life in the most beautiful and unexpected way. And the first way that showed up was a year after I'd gone through so much therapy and unpacked so much more than the grief itself. And one of the truths that I came to finally acknowledge and accept, as hard as it was that I had not married my person. And I had actually known that for a very long time. He's a wonderful man, and I'll always respect him. But I wasn't his person, and I'm not his person. And I think with my dad's death, it really just reminded me of how fleeting life is. And I refuse to settle in any aspect, and especially when it comes to love and having a soul partner. I'm positive my partner is out there, and I'm going to just keep on living my best life.
I'm Jennifer Omi, and I have a company called Ideal Design, and I'm a community development consultant. And I specialize in building and managing small business associations in the city of Atlanta. So I love neighborhood commercial districts, and that's my jam. That is who I serve, are all the small independent businesses within a neighborhood. How do you marry oneself? Well, I said, for these first 50 years of my life, I've been living out what my parents thought of, I should be, or, what society, or, I was married to another person and I'm no longer married to that person. So I thought, who is the one person that I've always had? It's me. And it's like, well, if I give a commitment to someone else, why not give it to myself first? And so I was inspired to create a ceremony and to hold a huge wedding for myself for my 50th. To really commit to myself and to really dedicate. So every day, that is the question, is how can I continue to dedicate to myself even deeper? Because I know that commitment is something that, will always be, that will only support me in any commitment I have to anybody else, to any of my friends and family, to my career, to the community, to Atlanta. So it's really my foundation, and it's made all the difference.
My name is Kelly Brogan, and I am a special education paraprofessional. Independence now is rediscovering myself, and without a partner, that's digging deep into what my interests are, rediscovering myself and what that means. It might look different for me than 5 minutes ago. These days, I'm learning that growth is internal and external, but more internal, and relying more on myself.
I'm Simona Lisa, and I do interior design, and I have designed for over 25 years here in Atlanta. I worked in the corporate sector, remember, and then I got laid off. And I begged the CEO to take me with you. And he was like, no, we ain't taking you with you. We made our millions, billions. So I was out looking for a job. And I remember my pastor, Reverend Mark Lomax, said, I don't know why you keep sending out resumes and looking for a job when you are actually your own entrepreneur. You're your own job. You have your skills. Go ahead and, do that. So I kind of pivoted and said, okay, I can do this. I found 600 square feet. I took all my corporate suits. Remember back in the day, we wore suits and pantyhose and the heels, and we dressed a certain way. I took all my suits, all my corporate clothes, called all my friends and said, hey, I'm opening a store and I'm going to get my funding from selling my corporate clothes. So I had rolling racks on top of rolling racks. You would bring your clothes, my girlfriends, my guys. I ended up selling all the clothes, and it turned into lifestyle, home accessory, gift items. So that's where been there, done that, because you'd come in and you think you were getting ready to find a used suit. No, been there, done that. We're now on to this. And no, been there, done that. We're now on to furniture. So that's why this company is called Been There, Done That.
I'm Stephanie Klontz, Director of Operations for Hydra Plus. In charge of the operations and the marketing and the day-to-day and seeing the clients and all the things related to the wellness industry. I've been in the med spa industry since maybe 2008. It started out with just, medical weight loss, started learning about testosterone replacement, started working in an environment where there were injectors, and so learning more about cosmetic injectables and dermal fillers. And there came a time 3 years ago where I was like, I just reached the ceiling in my job is how I felt. And I remember thinking, okay, so it's time to grow, it's time to pivot. And there was this opportunity that came along that was for not one, not two, but 3 med spas, to convert those from strictly IV hydration into medical weight loss, hormone replacement, peptide therapy, aesthetics, all the spa services, and really make that thing grow. And so we're 3 years into it, and gosh, we've come such a long way.
Having come from the NICU and my son Barnett getting actual donor breast milk for the first few months because I wasn't able to produce, being able to give that back to that community made it seem like I was making lemonade out of lemon. And it was healing for me because it also brought me back to a place where when my son was in the NICU and I was pumping for him, that was the only thing I knew that I was doing as a mom for him, because I couldn't take care of him because he was in the hospital. I wasn't allowed to sleep there. He had so many tubes on him. I couldn't change him. I didn't change my son's diaper until he was 4 months old in the NICU because of all of the contraptions that were on him. So being able to donate my milk in Liam's honor was probably the most healing thing I could do in that moment. But how did I navigate the grief? I'm not sure if I did. I went to really dark places, and the darkest place that I went was thinking about suffocating my son. Because I thought to myself, he's not going to know the difference, and at least this way I don't have to worry about him when I'm gone. And when I shared that with a family member, they told me I needed to go talk to someone. And so that started a journey of 1.5 years of therapy and working on my self-esteem and working on the negative self-talk that I had, that I felt like I was a failure. So little by little, I climbed myself out of that hole and that darkness, but it wasn't without my family, my friends, my community that really helped bring me up and hold me up in those moments.
Having been diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, my doctor recommended that I don't go back teaching in a school environment because it's just too viral and my immune system can't take it. AML, acute myeloid leukemia, likes to come back, very aggressive. So I've had to embrace the idea of having a complete change in direction as far as my profession is concerned. And a friend actually suggested that I try voiceover. She thought I had a conversational voice, and I've taken some classes. I'm starting my business, and I'm looking forward to working voiceover in Atlanta and hopefully getting involved in the movie industry. At this age, one of the advantages to changing my career is that I'm excited about something new. And I have the opportunity to work from a home studio where I'm not exposed to millions of germs and dealing with that whole environment. I get to move into my own safe space.
Going through breast cancer was the first time in my life that I let my guard down and let people know I needed them. I couldn't do it all by myself. It was the first time that I felt vulnerable in that kind of way. feeling that vulnerable when you're not usually, when you're independent and you've been doing it by yourself forever and, single mom, and all of a sudden you get that phone call that you have breast cancer, kind of feels like the world falls from under your feet. But luckily, I had a really great support system with my family and friends, and even strangers that came to mow my lawn in the middle of the day when I couldn't do those things for myself anymore. It made me appreciate the kindness in people, and especially during the pandemic when I had to go through the surgery by myself. I wasn't allowed to have anybody there to kind of hold my hand or tell me everything was going to be okay. But when I came out of my surgeries, one of them, my dad was there for me, and another one of my great friends was there to help bring me home. And it was just learning that people really cared about me in a way that I didn't realize before.
As a survivor of domestic violence, having the strength to leave is the hardest thing for everybody. But when you realize your truth and you realize that your peace is much more than staying in an unstable environment, you're able to leave. And leaving and realizing that it's not your fault is the biggest thing. Since I've had so many life experiences, it's so easy for me to reach back to the folks that are experiencing darkness to let them know that it won't be dark all the time, and that just because you're experiencing this right now, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm a testimony to that. So it's really easy for me to relate to people.
My name is Yolanda Miller, and I'm a licensed professional therapist. It's actually amazing. But it also is scary because I realized that I lost more than 100 pounds of fat. I lost 100 pounds of baggage. That means that I had to realize everything that I was carrying that I wasn't supposed to hold on to or that didn't belong to me. So I had to learn how to put some things down. And I had to heal those parts of me that didn't feel worthy, that never felt beautiful, that never felt like enough. Because when you lose weight, when you lose baggage, you have less things to hide behind. And so it put me up to the forefront. And so there lies me doing even more work on myself. And it's helped me grow as a woman. I stopped looking at my body as a project. I stopped looking at other people wanting to look a certain way or be a certain way. And it's not about me looking in the mirror, trying to figure out, do I like what I see? But it's about, do I respect my body? And what I mean by that is, whether I'm 100 pounds heavier or if I'm this size, I have to be able to thank my body. My body took me through grief, through loss, through birth. Why would I not bet on her when she's bet on me? And so it's about respect. Have I been good to my body today? Am I eating the right things? Yeah, I'm going to eat the chocolate cake sometimes, but I'm not going to eat the chocolate cake every day, even though I really feel like I want to. I'm not going to do, because that's not good for me. That's not good for me. So have I been good to myself today? Have I rested? Have I slept? Have I taken a shower? Have I just been good to me? So I transition my thought is, do I like what I see, or do I respect my body? So that's helped me a lot with body positivity and body love.
It was pretty overwhelming. And to invite all my friends and family, people from the communities I've worked with over the years, people that I've known all my life. My mother walked me down the aisle and, met with my brother and then my stepfather and then my nephew and then into this circle of 100 or so people who have really stood by me for my whole life. But the main thing that I really wanted to get about turning 50 was to receive, to learn how to receive all the love that is available to me, that I have through my friends and family, through all that I create in the world. And that is my biggest commitment. So it was overwhelming. At one point, I just felt like just so much energy and rush and love, and it was euphoric. And I'm so happy I did that for myself. And it's also allowed me to really be mindful about receiving. I'm always giving and creating and building, but it's like making sure to just pause enough to receive it back from someone that I'm helping in my career, or my friend or my family, and be more present. And but I would encourage anyone to do that for themselves. It's the commitment, it's the relationship you will always have, and it's the one that if you invest in will give you everything.
So my son and I wrote a children's book when he was in 3rd grade. I was running a television station at the time, and one day I picked him up from school, and I noticed that he felt kind of disconnected from me, and I felt disconnected from him too. So I decided to forget about the homework that evening, and he and I went out and had chicken wings and played video games and walked around our town and just really spent some time together to reconnect. And it worked. A couple weeks later, he had to write in his 1st grade class about an experience that he enjoyed, and he wrote about that evening. And it got me thinking about how, just taking some time, quality time with my son was really impactful to him, and that we should share that with others. So we went ahead and we walked around our neighborhood, and I had my phone and I was recording him as he shared all the details of that evening, what kind of chicken wings we ate, what the score was when we played our video games, and we wrote it all down, and together we wrote a children's book called Date Night with Mom. And we self-published that and sold it in a variety of different stores as well as Amazon. And it was an opportunity for us to go out and to share that story with his entire school, with other nonprofit organizations. We donated proceeds to that to his school and to other organizations, and to have a guide with it for other moms that are working. Because a lot of times us moms, we feel really guilty about how much time we're spending at work. And really what I was trying to do is drop the rope there and show these moms that sometimes it's just about the small things. It's about the quality time. And if I could do it, they can do it too.
So getting pregnant in my 20s, both times really taking birth control or just abruptly stopping, really showed me that, again, it's not my timing. It's God's timing. There's a much bigger plan than you could ever imagine. And if I hadn't have had children when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't have kids at all. So I think that being a mother is something I've always wanted to do and to be. And honestly, if I hadn't have had my kids the way I did and the way it all happened, even though it wasn't planned, it was part of the bigger picture and the bigger plan, because again, I would not have been able to be the mother I am today and have the 2 blessings of children that I have if I hadn't have done it early.
My kids, if they didn't have me around, I felt like, I don't want to say that they wouldn't survive or anything like that, but I remember I was at Parents Weekend with my daughter, and she took me to a bar, and we were, hanging out by the restrooms, and all of a sudden she started crying. And I was like, "What are you crying about?" And she's like, "I can't lose you. I can't lose you." And I'm like, "You're not going to lose me. I'm here. I'm going to be okay." And hearing that fear in her voice made me realize that it's my job, even going through breast cancer or pivoting in a career or helping when their dad's not around, that it's my job to be their rock.
As a stepmom, I thought my role would be different. I was put in a situation where my stepdaughters did not have a relationship with their mom, or a great relationship with their mom, and my husband at the time traveled a lot. So I became the nurturer, the go-to, the disciplinary, the person that was there, but not necessarily mom or dad. So it was rewarding and all things that come in raising children, but it was also difficult because I became the bad guy a lot of the time.
It was chaos. It was scary. There was no happiness because I didn't feel like I was allowed to be happy because I'd done it at the most inopportune time. I felt wrong for having a son at the age that I had my Christopher at. I felt like I was doing my family a disservice. I was shaming them, shaming myself, and shaming him because I felt like he deserved an older mother. But it also taught me that life comes at you fast, that either you're going to sink or swim. And by the grace of God and my village, my family, I was able to swim. And my son gave me purpose. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for Chris. If I hadn't had him at that age, I still don't think that I would be who I am today. He's my heartbeat.
My name is Mithil Patel. Mithil sounds like lethal, but with an M. And I have been in private practice for 14 years now. I have 2 locations. I also have 2 amazing kids, an 11-year-old who started middle school and a 4th grader, and she's 9. The reason why we expanded so quickly was because we had our first child, and I needed to have flexibility and spend more time with my kids. And in order to do that, we thought if we were to expand and have multiple practices, we could hire doctors, and that would give me flexibility to stay home and do more with the kids. Well, it turns out 4 practices was a lot to handle, and I had the support of my husband who was helping with everything, but he's not a doctor, so he couldn't actually go see the patients. And finding doctors and staff at that time was very challenging for us. So we decided to scale down. So instead of doing 4 mediocre, we're just going to do 2 really well. So that's what we've decided to do, and it's worked out amazing. Having my own practice has allowed me to set my own schedule, which means I can get off of work early on days that I need to pick up the kids and take them to their activities. I feel like I am successful because I am able to do that. I get off of work at 4 or 2, sometimes depending on the day, and I've been to all the kids' games, and I get to, have dinner with them, and that's something that's really important to me, is for all 4 of us to have dinner together at night. I grew up that way, and it's just something that's you can't put a price tag on. So in order to do that, I needed to be able to set my own hours and set my own schedule, and being in private practice is the only way that I was able to do that.
The journey of motherhood, I think for everyone, it will make you doubt yourself. I mean, mom guilt, it's a thing. And I doubted myself for the first 5 years and blamed myself. And I'm kind of coming out of that and being stronger than ever. And that's what it means, is I am no longer going to dim my light. I am no longer going to second guess myself. And I'm going to stand strong in the woman that I am and what I have learned. And I will never back down. I will never let the grief overcome me the way that it did. I feel like I am unstoppable in this moment.
The journey was phenomenal. Really, really phenomenal. I mean, I didn't have a degree in fashion. I didn't have a global team, but I had a vision. I followed through with it. I have a creative mind, and I followed through with what, I was blessed with, and pushed forward and was picked up for Paris Fashion Week.
This time in my life is a fresh start because I'm healing from cancer. I'm starting a new career, going from teaching to being a voiceover artist, and simultaneously I'm going through a really challenging, contentious divorce. Having experienced betrayal and also health issues while trying to find my new purpose has really forced me to dig deep as far as patience and my goals. And everything that I'm experiencing right now is pushing me to become stronger in order to accept the changes that I'm making and to go into it fully and head on.
Turning 50 was always seemed like a huge milestone to me, but of course, the closer you get to 50, it's just another day. When I turned 50, it was almost like switch was flipped. I felt young. I still feel young. The number doesn't mean as much as I thought it would mean, and it's really just a frame of mind, and it's an attitude. And I'm proud. I'm very proud. I'm 55, almost 56, and I'm very proud of who I am and where I've been, how I got here. All the bumps and bruises along the way, they all count. The wins count too. But I am at almost 56 years old. I have never been as confident as I am today, and that is empowering.
So when I turned 50, it was a harsh reality because all of a sudden I said, oh no, I have lived more than I have left. And that was kind of like a really harsh reality for me, thinking there's a lot that I want to do. I want to travel. There's the road behind me is longer than the one in front of me. The years do fly by. So it's all about hitting the bucket list, doing crazy things, do it now. You know, everybody says tomorrow's not promised, and it really is true. Tomorrow isn't promised. And people always told me, you know, when my kids were young, enjoy it, embrace it, time flies. Time does fly, but you know, time flies a lot faster the older you get. It goes much, much faster.
It used to be a fear. And it goes back to women, specifically Black women, are the most underrepresented, under-resourced, undervalued species walking the earth. And because of my success, I used to walk into rooms and literally have imposter syndrome. Like, am I supposed to be here? And that self-doubt can creep in so fast. It doesn't matter what level of success you've had, what education you've had. And once I realized that everybody on the other side of the table has the same fears, the same self-doubt, the same insecurities, and you realize it's really about humanity, you're no longer fearful. You take up space, as much space as you need to be, and you don't apologize for it.
I'm Sandy Gordon, and I am a lifelong ATLian, I like to say, based and lived here in Atlanta for as long as I can remember. I am a mother of 2 adult children. I am the wife of a strong and supportive and loving husband. And I am the daughter of 2 parents that were raised during the civil rights era in segregated south of Alabama. So that kind of defines me and who I am. I'm an executive who started on the front lines and just kind of worked my way through my professional career. And I'm at a place in my life where I am reflective and starting to think, what's my legacy going to be? How can I help others? And how can I help my community? Yes, starting on the front line as a flight attendant definitely was not my plan, but the opportunity presented itself. And at a time in my life where I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I had an undergraduate degree in finance from Hampton University. And when I applied at Delta Airlines and was offered the role I applied for was not flight attendant, but flight attendant is what presented itself. And I quickly learned there was a lot I didn't know about being a flight attendant, and grew through very few short weeks of training to really respect the role. From the frontline role and working in the front line, I got a chance to see what it's like to be closest to the work. And I've always tried to hold on to that as I took different roles throughout my career, because it helped me to just remember and be authentic in my leadership, and to take that kind of perspective. If these are the people that I am being privileged enough to serve, then I need to understand and appreciate the work that they do and how I can help improve that for them. And I carry that through my thing. So I think that there was a lesson to learn in all of this. It really is that sometimes the unconventional moves, they are the ones that'll lead you to most powerful experiences in your life. And that's truly how that moved for me.
I think before 40, you're not really that comfortable in your skin. I might just be speaking for myself, but you know, a lot of my girlfriends who, like, we're all the same age, but it's like, this is the time that we feel the most comfortable. We care the least about what other people's opinions are. And it's, like, you feel like everything is right for you professionally, and in our personal lives, we're just mature, we're stable. We can all go out for a girls' night. We don't have to worry about it, somebody not being able to pick up their part of the tab, and you can reach out to your girlfriends or to your guy friends, and it's like we all have these different conversations now where we're talking about how to make more money, or just better life's goals, and also just like where we're traveling to next. So that's how you know that we've just entered a different phase of life.
My name is Elisa Buckner, and I serve as the executive pastor at Generation of Hope Church. And I am also the founder and owner of Access to a Mission, a college advisement business, and Wiser Ed Solutions, a substitute company. When I was volunteering in a local high school near the Summerhill community, I would often go into high school classrooms and I would ask the students if they wanted to go to college, and most of them would raise their hands. They wanted to go. But then when I asked deeper questions about how they felt like their courses tied to their admissions and getting to college, I noticed that there was really just a void there. And so I enjoyed that work and sharing my knowledge about college and the college admissions process with parents and students. And from there, I just felt led to launch Access to a Mission, and it's been a blessing for me, and I believe it's been a blessing to other families as well. So what is really awesome about my company, Access to a Mission, is that I've had the opportunity to be a for-profit organization or company, but serve students that are low income, underserved, and first generation to college. I've been able to do that because other high schools in the area are willing to pay for my expertise and my team to really support families and students that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford their own independent college coach. And so that work has been just an honor for me to be a part of. And so I'm just thankful that I can provide that type of access to students regardless of their income level and background.
So the full title is Grit, Grind, Grace, and Gratitude, the Unstoppable Journey of Women Entrepreneurs. It's a circle. It's that circle. You've got to have that grit initially to get through it. And women have that. We push through, we persevere. So I think naturally we have grit. That grind, that's your hustle. Can we make it happen? Absolutely. So combined with your grit, it's in my gut, I got it, but I also know how to make it happen. And the grace, not only giving yourself grace, giving others grace, and not having distractions derail you. Being able to understand that. And then the gratitude piece is really about sharing, being constantly grateful, but also gratitude in that you're in a position now to share your journey, your experience with others. And women as entrepreneurs have to go through that, not just one time, but it's a cycle, and it's an ongoing cycle. As I said, I'm a serialpreneur, so each company is at a different stage. And so that means I'm at a different stage of that grit, grind, grace, and gratitude cycle. But it's ongoing and it keeps me grounded. But I think it's just a story of women who are entrepreneurs, and we are making it happen gracefully.
After residency, I worked corporate because those were the jobs that were easier to find. And I decided really quickly that I didn't feel good at night when I got home, because you would see 15, 20, sometimes 25, 30 patients in a day, and I didn't remember their names or what they did or just anything about them. And that really bothered me. It didn't sit well with me. So I knew I had to be in private practice where I could set my own rules so I can spend a lot of time with each person, getting to know them. Finding out what their hobbies are and where they're using their eyes so that I can best prescribe the right type of glasses, because not one pair of glasses is going to be perfect for everything that you do. It's like having the right pair of shoes for the right activity.
For STEM, which is a big thing, I said take up space. This is you. This is for you. I would also recommend that they align themselves with peers, people who could mentor them, people who could uplift them, because sometimes the journey could be tough, and I want them to remember you can do it, remember why you started, and push through till you finish.
So the National Coalition of 100 Black Women is an organization that advocates for the empowerment of Black women and girls. And we do our very best to ensure that opportunities are made available, that they are exposed to resources that are there to help you navigate through your journey, especially if you're young, through high school, to college. But our primary objective is to empower young Black women and girls in the areas of health, education, and women's empowerment.
Well, the Performance Wellness Foundation is an organization that my children and I built. We built it from our own experiences, and what I mean by that is, for one, the foundation is a wellness foundation, and we cater to athletes and performing artists. And how it came about is, I'm into mental health, I'm into wellness, and my children, my son, he was a performing artist. Trying to come up as a performing artist is hard out there in that industry. My daughter, she was an athlete, but in 12th grade, she found out she had compartment syndrome and could no longer play. And I saw that them trying to get out there in those two fields, it was very difficult. Even though they both had the skill sets, they both was able to get out there. But the challenge that's out there for them is very, very difficult. And I find that with all the younger children that are trying to move in that direction, whether as a performing artist or as an athlete, it's not easy getting in that industry. And sometimes due to them having setbacks, meaning, no, I didn't get that part, or no, I didn't make the team, I didn't make the cut. A lot of times it makes them depressed. A lot of times it is a burden on their self-esteem and all that. I realized that just by watching my two children. So I said to them, how about we come up with an organization where we cater to that industry, cater to our avatar, and that's how the organization came about.
Probably the story that sticks with me is literally only 1 week old. My husband works with North Georgia Works. It's a ministry that works with men who have gotten out of prison or have drug situations, that addiction. And my husband has worked for them for 2 years. I met several of the guys when we were moving and heard their stories. And they were heartbreaking. A lot of them were very heartbreaking. One of the gentlemen has recently graduated from the program. He got custody of both of his girls. And I met up with him this weekend and I gave him some spreadsheets and I said, I want your girls to give us a Christmas list. And then I handed him his. And he said, what is this? And I said, this is your Christmas list, your wish list. And he said, I didn't think I was going to get one. And I said, oh, no, you are. I said, Santa has to visit you too. And he got very teary-eyed. And he said, thank you so much. And he said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. I just want you to fly right. And that just, to me, was just such a personal connection. And that's why my husband and I really concentrate on local charities, because we want to see the fruition of our support. And right there was like a wonderful, wonderful moment for me.
The message connects to my nonprofit in such a complex, compelling way for me, and it's very impactful and it's very spiritual. One Bartow connects to my foundation and my faith from a small community that I grew up in. And one of the programs of my nonprofit is called Bright as a Pearl. So my grandmother was named Pearl, and we called her Bright. And after what happened to her and she passed away, this is part of how we honor her legacy. So we support seniors with low impact fitness. My husband is a trainer and he provides fitness to seniors. We also feed seniors, we provide resources, and we educate families so that what happened to her would not happen to anyone else. And no other family would have to experience what our family would have to experience. So how that feeds into my story today is that 10-year-old girl that experienced such trauma has now been able to take that trauma and overcome so many obstacles in my life, including childhood molestation and a lot of other grief and pain that I've gone through. And I've been able to tell that story and help so many people. And it took me a really long time to place that grief and that trauma where it needed to be placed. But I created my trauma journey, and I understood that that trauma was purposeful in order for me to get to the love of that 831 for myself and understand that all those things didn't happen because something was wrong with me. All of those things happened because there was a purpose for me. And that grief was leading me to the love and to the purpose that God has for me. So when I tell that story, I'm telling my story, but I'm also creating stories for others that were not able to tell their story.
It's so interesting. I paid no attention to politics or civic situations, social society issues until Barack Obama was elected. And I remember so well the night the election was called. There were 3 generations in my parents' basement, and my siblings were there with their in-laws and all the grandkids, my parents' grandkids. And my children got a chance to see that moment and to witness how impactful it was to our parents through the tears that ran down their face. And in that moment, and from that moment on, I paid close attention. Obviously, I think through a sense of pride for him being selected as our president and how well he served us and just carried himself and his family. And I could relate. I felt like I could relate to the Obamas. But I also watched and learned a whole lot about our government and how fragile it is through that and through all that has transpired since then. And there's a growing sense of need. I feel like I need to do something. I need to be a part of the solution. And so, like I said earlier, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that is that I do, but I'm determined to be a part of it because I like solving problems, and I'm a control freak, and so I just want to get in there and fix it all. I know what should be done. I just don't understand why they can't figure out what should be done.
I came to Atlanta in 1992, a year after I graduated college. My older sister and I decided to just move down here, sight unseen. We'd never been to Atlanta. Marriages and kids later. She's since moved on, but I'm here. This is where my kids grew up. This is my community. These are the people I know. I'm entrenched in the community, and in the future, maybe I'll go somewhere else, but for now, Atlanta is my home. This is where I've spent more time in Atlanta than anywhere else in the world. So Atlanta's home.
Atlanta really inspires and challenges the work that I do because Atlanta is forever changing. We often know it as a city of transplants. I'm a transplant, but I would say that there's a lot of diversity that really makes Atlanta super rich. And so learning how to navigate different experiences that our neighbors and our community of families have has really just been a blessing to navigate and to work through in the work that I do.
I believe that Atlanta has made progress, but there's certainly, a ways to go. I think we're seeing more diversity with the attorneys and judges and people sitting in places of authority. However, I think we need more. There has to be more than just representation. There has to be meaningful, substantive change. And I think it has to be a change that has levels of accountability to it as well. And so Atlanta has an amazing and unique history. And Atlanta has done so many amazing, wonderful things. And we see where we are in the here and now, and we can grow. And I'm so happy to be a part of that growth and that change. And I'm ready and eager for it. So yeah, Atlanta has definitely made progress. And I hope that I'm a part of the change that's going to take it even further.
Growing up in Atlanta, Atlanta is diverse. It's got all types of culture. It's bold, it's vibrant, it's energetic. Everything that you see comes through here. They walk past, and I don't think a lot of us give a side eye. It's I want to do that too. So Atlanta has always given me a lift, an energy, and I could be authentically me. I didn't have to, look, she looks different. No, they used to come in my store and look and let's see what, they used to call it time, so this is 20-something years ago. Let's see what costume Simone has on. Man, you didn't know I was dripping back then too, okay?
So living and working in Atlanta, being a native of Atlanta, a Georgia peach, has really influenced me in so many powerful ways, because you think about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. We think about some of our great pioneers, such as Mayor Maynard Jackson, the impact that he's made on Atlanta, and his legacy still live on through Hartsfield Jackson Airport. And I remember being a young girl and hearing my mother and my aunts talk about Maynard Jackson. I felt like he was part of the Holy Trinity, the way they were so excited about his innovation, his creativity, and the things that he was doing for our Black community. So I grew up hearing all about this rich history here in Atlanta. So it really influenced me. Like you know, we're known as the Black Mecca, you know, Black excellence. I wear that as a proud badge. You know, and so, you know, we have rich culture, we have good food, we have Tyler Perry Studios. So the attraction that other people have when they come to Atlanta and the reason why they come, I feel very proud. I'm like, okay, I'm a part of this rich soil. So
ATL is a special place. It really is. Atlanta is very special. And if you've had the fortune of growing up here, you grew up in a place where, especially if you're a woman of color, you're a Black woman, Black male, you know, Atlanta, you saw people be successful regardless of skin color. We were known as the city too busy to hate when we were younger, and that was really true. Black mayors, Black professionals, they were here. So for me, I grew up feeling like I could do what I wanted to do with my life. It was just for me to decide. And now being in Atlanta, I still think Atlanta is special in that way. And there's a sense of pride that I carry when I say I am from Atlanta. And we're different here. And so I hope that, if nothing else, people who see that I've done this walk away and realize it's different in Atlanta. You can go from being a flight attendant to running all the airports in the United States that your company, you know, supports, to becoming the leader of employee experience at the largest company on the earth, serving more than 1.3 million people a day. Like, I can do that. And I'm somebody who just grew up in Atlanta, went to college, became a flight attendant.
Firstly, I had no idea that I would be, well, my brand would be on a billboard in Times Square. I was sitting in a hotel room just waiting for the shows to start later that day, and I got an email that said, your billboard is on Times Square. Your brand is on Times Square. I replied to the email and I said, I think you have the wrong person. And a few minutes later, I got another email. This time they specifically stated my name, like, Lana McCletchy, your brand is on Times Square, on the billboard in Times Square. I mean, I shot out of that hotel room so quickly trying to find it. They told me exactly where, the position to look for it on Broadway. And once I found it, I mean, I was in tears. I broke down in tears because I could not believe that this journey of mine took me to Times Square within 2 years.
So I will say, a lot of people ask me what motivates me to do some of the things that I do, because I'm extremely philanthropic. I lead community affairs for a company. I've led community affairs for 25, 30 years. That's just been my platform, my career. And I always say, I do have a mantra, and that mantra is that at the end of the day, when I think about why I do what I do, at the end of the day, I'm really, this is a little cliche, but I say I am just a nobody, trying to tell everybody that anybody can be somebody through service. Wake up in the morning deciding to do something good for someone else. That's a wonderful feeling, and it takes a lot of the pressure off of what do I need to do, because there's always someone in need, someone who needs something. You know, you think that oftentimes, you know, this is, you know, oh, woe is me, but there's someone out there who probably needs something a little bit more than you do. So focus on not so much yourself, focus on doing good, being good, and you will find that that can be very fulfilling, very rewarding, and make for a really good day.
I would encourage another woman who's going through a career change to be patient. and to understand that not everything's going to turn out the way you want it to turn out. But if you focus on your goals and you keep reminding yourself what your worth is and what you're wanting in the end, you can go and you can get it, and you can do anything you want to do, anything at all.
Rubies of Hope is a more recent organization that I have founded, and is really just based off of my relationship that I had with my grandmother and my mother, both of whom are deceased. My mother passed from breast cancer before I got married 15 years ago, and my grandmother passed just after my youngest son was born over 11 years ago. And so I really just felt like I am who I am because of what I've learned from my mother and my grandmother. And I wanted to be able to pass that along to other women that could really just glean from some of the wisdom that my grandmother and my mother often shared with me. And so it's a way to provide a safe space for women to really just be encouraged and to come together in community with God and Christ in mind.
It's Adams Men's Clothing Store. That was the basketball player Tavo Cephalosa, and Bertil, his wife, and Zola owned that store in the shops of Buckhead. I designed that store along with architect Lloyd Myers. And the other clients that I have, high profile clients, I feel like with those, I know how to hold space for people with large personalities and still not lose myself, because they can take up they're used to being in this world. It's about them, but they have a lot going on. They're out in the public eye, and I respect their hustle, and, I got a lot going on too. I'm on the same. But I think for their family and their homes, whatever it is I'm designing, I bring there to bring a calm, a clarity, design solutions. That's the best thing. And I remember telling one of the clients, it's not about knowing what luxury is, it's how to live in luxury. And that's what I bring.
So I spent so much time in corporate America chasing titles and chasing money. And now I get to chase impact and purpose. And so at this stage of life for me, I want to approach everything that I do with love. And I want to be able to spend every single day for the rest of the time that I have on this earth, impacting someone's life, telling my story, and being able to give back to others. And that is what success looks like for me today.
I guess I want to be known for being a good person, a person who steps in and helps wherever I can, not shy away from any controversy. Sometimes I like to right the wrongs. I want to be known for that, to be like a champion of people so that they can be what they want to be and live their dream and succeed. I think that's really important. Someone said to me, "You really love hard." And I do. If I love you, it's a good love. It's an honest love, and I think that trickles down in the philanthropy that I do. I can't do anything unless I have a passion for it. I'm very driven by passion, and I think it's really important that you understand how you're fulfilling their needs, but really fulfilling their needs is filling my needs, because it may be considered a selfless act to do that, but kind of selfishly it fills my heart and my soul. So I think that's wonderful. So I think at the end, I just want people to remember me of being someone who would jump into the action, who would take charge, and she looked really fashionable doing it. That's what I want them to think.